name is Joe Byerly. I'm an officer in the United States Army and the founder of From the Green Notebook, which I started in 2013. And these are 3 lessons I'd like to share with you. Before I dive into the 3 lessons, there's one overarching lesson that I think is important for everybody. And that's that our education is not over when our university or whatever program we're in hands us a diploma. It's over when we say it's over. And so that means we have to dedicate ourselves to the process of self-development throughout our careers, whether they're in the military or civil service. So let me go ahead and get into the first lesson, the importance of reading. As a leader, we have to read. Reading helps us get beyond the soda straw of our perspective and our experiences. If you think about it, we go through life with a very limited set of experiences, no matter who you are. And we have over 5,000 years of experience that we can tap into to take that soda straw that we have and expand it out so that we're looking at problems through multiple lenses. We're able to identify problems where nobody saw them before, and we're able to identify opportunities where nobody saw them before. And I'll give you one example of how reading has affected me as a leader. I recently read a book called Creativity, Inc. by Ed Catmull. And it's about the founding of Pixar and the first couple of years of Pixar and the movies that they made. And one story stood out in particular to me, and that was the making of Toy Story 2. When they went into production of it, they had the B team against Toy Story 2. They thought it was going to be an easy win. So they got about 6 months into, or they got about 1.5 years into production and realized that the movie was absolutely horrible and that they would have to scrap the whole project and start over. And so the founders of the company, Steve Jobs, Ed Catmull, they all came in last year, they all came together and said that we potentially can do this, but we're gonna have to work 7 days a week. We're gonna have to put everything into making this movie. So in the course of 6 months, they did about 1.5 years worth of work and retooled Toy Story 2. So June rolls around, they see the first cut of the movie, and it's the Toy Story 2 that we know today. That was an absolute hit. But something happened in the process. The managers burned themselves out. The animators burned themselves out working on this movie. And one day in particular in June in California, and it's pretty hot in California in June, one of the animators thought he had dropped his child off at daycare that morning. He got in the office, talked to his wife on the phone, and she asked him how drop-off went. And it was in that moment that he realized that his child was still sitting in the back of his car. So they rushed out, and thankfully the child survived, the child was okay. But that event showed the CEO, Ed Catmull, that what he had done was not sustainable. That company had completely burned everybody out in the process of making this movie. And so he gained this insight that I've taken with me into leadership, was that when you have on one hand animators, employees, soldiers, leaders who want to make a difference, who want to bring their best work every day, who want to achieve, and on the other hand, have an organization that wants to push and consistently get results, all right? It makes a toxic cocktail that's terrible for the organization. It's terrible for the culture, it burns people out, and that's not how you keep people in for the long haul. And so through that lesson, Ed realized that the person that has to step in between those two forces is the leader. The leader has to constantly monitor the culture and the climate of the organization and know when to turn things up to push people, but he also he or she needs to know when to step in and to put the brakes on things and tell people to go home at a decent time at the end of the day, or say no to great opportunities that are out there that in the long haul may not be in the best interest of the organization. And so just reading that book and then taking those lessons into my own leadership philosophy has helped me create an organization, create a climate that is sustainable and is keeping people in for the long haul. The second lesson that's very important, so we talked about reading. The next thing is writing, right? Writing is a key skill for leaders to develop in the military for a number of reasons. The first one is that we have anywhere between 50 and 70,000 thoughts swirling through our heads each day. And if you think you're going to remember those, you're wrong. You're going to forget them. And so writing down helps us crystallize those thoughts and helps us understand what we're thinking. And what we start each episode of the From the Green Notebook podcast out with is this quote by that's attributed to E.M. Forster. It says, "How do I know what I think until I see what I say?" And so we really don't know what we think until we have it crystallized in writing and can kind of understand it better. The next thing actually dovetails into reading. As we read, we think we're going to remember all these great lessons, these great passages, these great insights that we're ingesting as we're going through a book. But there's something called the forgetting curve. And within 48 hours of reading a book, you actually end up forgetting about 90% of the material. And so by you writing down, you're actually etching into your brain those lessons, and you're able to review them, especially if you're writing them down in a small notebook, like a green notebook that we talk about at our blog. You're able to constantly revisit those lessons and insights, and not just turn that into some knowledge that you're able to share at a cocktail party or look smart, but actually incorporate it into your daily life, turning it into wisdom. The other important piece of being able to write is that all those lessons, right, that we're reading about, that we're experiencing in our day-to-day jobs, that we're collecting in our green notebooks, right, they're only good for us. But when you're writing, especially when you're writing professionally, writing for an audience, you're able to share those lessons out. And once you post a lesson, a leadership lesson on a blog or a professional journal, you have no idea of the impact that will continue to make long after you've left service. There have been plenty of articles that I've read throughout my time in the military that have shaped me into who I am today. And those officers left service 10, 15, 20 years ago. So writing helps us share those lessons. The third point that I want to impart to you is the power of reflection. All right, in the U.S. military, we typically go through assignments every year and a half, 2 years. All right, we go from assignment to assignment. So typically in a 20-year career, you're changing assignments every 2 years. And you're going from one assignment to the next, each one presenting a greater difficulty, a greater degree of challenges. And you're focused on those challenges in the moment, and you've already pushed the experiences you had from your previous assignment onto the back burner. You're not even thinking about it anymore, all right? So if you think about it, as we go through our careers, we have our bucket of wisdom, our bucket of experience, and we take our sponge, and whatever job we're in, whether it's a platoon leader, a company commander, a battalion commander, a brigade commander, we dip our sponge into those positions, and then we come back. But if we're rushing to the next assignment, maybe a few drops of wisdom from that assignment are getting into our bucket, we're already moving on to the next one, all right? So an important aspect of that is writing and is reflecting on those experiences, writing those lessons down so you can continually go back to them and grow from them. Another thing is, as we go through our careers, we discover things about ourselves. We gain an understanding of when we reflect, we gain an understanding of our likes, our dislikes, our strengths, our weaknesses, and we develop this self-knowledge that actually helps us get better as we progress. One of the things that I always think about is going back to the ancient Greeks. Right? They used to go to a place called Delphi to understand where they were going. They would go talk to the Oracle of Delphi and try to find out their future. But one of the arches that they had to walk under had the words in Greek written above that said, "Know thyself." And that's an important part about knowing where you're going, is knowing where you've been and knowing who you are. And so that is something that I say that all leaders, regardless of where you're at in your careers, need to do to continue to grow, is to reflect. So again, the 3 lessons that will help you become a better leader is to read, to write, and reflect. And by doing those things, you will be able to lead with the best version of yourself.